Well, thanks for joining us today, everyone. This is pretty exciting. We've been working for quite a while at this, and we're really just chomping at the bit, I guess, to share it with everybody. I'm Angus, founder at AssetOS.
And I'm Nima, head of product here at AssetOS. So, Angus, let's start with the problem we're trying to solve. So what are we trying to solve?
Yeah, so I think the industry we play in, or the space we play in, there's lots of challenges that they have, particularly through ownership cycle, so acquisition, operation, and disposal. And that's around, condition of assets, safety on site, planning around what to do with those assets, operating the assets, and really, between all of these silos, there's not really communication, and these teams don't really work in an integrated way.
So yeah, working in this area, there's multiple systems, and it's quite painful and quite adamant. I think we mapped out about 20 or so systems and are required to just facilitate and manage an asset, which we empathize and feel your pain.
Yeah, I think this sort of drove also why we, started to think, or the way we thought about the industry when we were originally, starting to work on AssetOS. All of these systems and processes, in theory, need to actually talk together, because they're all working towards the same combined outcome of improving an asset or operating an asset for the greater good or for financial gain. Yet none of this really actually integrates very well, and data and communication can be really slow between them. And so with AssetOS, this is what it is today. This is what we've been able to achieve, I guess, with the platform. And it's been, incredible sort of reception to our customers or from our customers. And the industry has been, really supportive of what we've developed, but yet it only touches a fraction of what we're actually trying to achieve. And I think that, if you look through all of this, all of these things are very complex, I guess, areas in a business to work through and have lots of planning around them. And, from that, it was, okay, what next? Like now we've been able to do what we've done in AssetOS. Where does the product really go?
Which is my pain point, which was how do we develop AssetOS further when all of these systems don't talk to each other and don't want to talk to each other? They're siloed and isolated from each other. And the hard part was we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to become the only source of truth. So what can we do to basically strip that back and start looking at building something that could be solely focused on helping facility managers and asset owners operate with efficiency at scale without us spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing something that is already been developed.
And so let's dive into one of these, condition monitoring, just one of those pillars we're looking at. And people often were telling us it's a data problem, customers don't have the right data. But as we see here, there are so many steps in each of these individual silos. The condition monitoring is just a tiny fraction of what has to happen on an asset. Yeah, within there, it's all process-based as well. And so the answer isn't just more data. It's the right data at the right time, but also the right process over it. And for us, process meant a couple of things. One was, what are the actual processes that need to happen, but where does that happen? It's all well and good saying these are the 10 steps in the process, but if it got to happen in 10 different systems that don't communicate with each other, then it really just adds a lot of complexity and challenge, in operating these assets. And I think, just the other part there is every asset's different.
Yeah, I've spoken to like 50 plus asset managers, and the difficulty is like these are very generic steps. Each company, each segment of the company runs differently, runs different systems, does it differently. This is a very simple look of one of the pills, condition monitoring, but honestly, like this is us distilling it in the simplest manner. Some of them are 30 to 40 steps, and there are 10 to 15 systems in place to get just monitoring done.
But the key there is at scale, they are processes.
Yeah.
It's not evolving all the time. They really do just follow the same process day in, day out.
So this is where the birth child of AssetOS came through. And you may be wondering, why is it AssetOS? Well, we fundamentally wanted to strip back what we believed was the solution for this problem. And what we think is that we need something that is more than just a software as a service or an attachment to another process that's happening within your business or other businesses. We wanted something that would basically fundamentally be the brainchild of a lot of operations. So this is an operating system that we've kind of been working on for the last couple of months.
Yeah, and beyond. I think this takes a lot of the work that we've been seeing with customers since AssetOS came to the market in sort of 2019, 2020, and evolves it. A lot of the feedback we received was, okay, this is great, but where do I close out my work orders? How do I send this to a vendor to quote on? How do I put this together as a works package? How do I trigger this in my safety
How
system?
do I do internals and externals? Like there's so many of those.
Yeah, incredible sort of challenges for customers, but all fairly solvable, I guess. And so, AssetOS, what is it? It's a unified platform for asset owners and operators to effectively operate their asset networks. And the operating system concept moves us from being just a system of record for customers, but being the operating hub that also drives that. And so, I think as we sort of are in a world where more and more systems are coming in, and particularly more niche systems that have highly specific but strong value to add, there's a core piece missing in the middle, which is how do you tie these together? And we've seen it in AssetOS, where how do we get our data into enterprise customer networks? Sometimes they download a CSV and put it in a month later, and they just map it based on the ID, asset ID. And so there was a better way of doing it, and that's what AssetOS is. It really ties it together.
And so here's an example of a condition monitoring with AssetOS. So what we're looking at is AssetOS is the logic behind it. So we're looking at triggers, we're looking at data, we're looking at outcome. And so with AssetOS, we can cover many triggers. So for an example, for condition monitoring, there could be an inspection that triggered a requirement, an incident that's happened. You've got a business strategy that's changed the way an asset is going to be managed for the next 5 to 10 years. Or you have weather conditions, as we've seen here in Sydney, Australia, the last couple of days, that can cause significant changes in the approach. What AssetOS then does is amalgamate all that data and has logic behind it to basically say, if this, then do this, and push towards this. And I guess what we really want to highlight is we're not dictating it. What we're basically focused on is an asset lens against logic, because everyone has business logic. Everyone has a lot of operations that are happening within it, within their businesses. And what we're hoping to do is basically be able to absorb data, pull in our own data, and then push it towards a logical engine that will give you outcomes that you're looking for. So some of those examples, Angus, did you want to go through?
Yeah, so it might be from these, you might want to generate a work order off something, adding into a compliance report, a line or a risk, readjusting your budget, based on the real sort of insights. There's been a weather event, so maybe notifying someone that there's been too much rain on site, are the gutters clear, and other things as well. Here's one, RFQ to a supplier. And I think with all of this, and to Nima's point, we're not telling you how to do it. What you get with AssetOS is a framework. Sorry, AssetOS is a framework that really lets you build off it. And so we're taking a lens of assets and sites and components and these sort of really core asset concepts, which we bake into the system and add a lot of value to. But you can actually manipulate that data in any way you want. And so maybe. See here, one of the things, total replacement cost, $35 million. Maybe the way you calculate total replacement cost is unique or different for you, or you want to generate a balanced, rating for your sites based on the earthworks that are on site, or it doesn't matter to us, what you want to do or how you do it. We'll let you do it the best way, and we'll help you do it the best way. And that's what AssetOS is really focused on. This health score here, this is a custom formula. The way we've built this table is we've got a text field, we've got a sort of roll-up field, got a couple of calculation fields. We've then got a trigger field, which is triggering the work orders. We've got a count field, which is the issues. And then we've got the weather field, which is a lookup from integration. they're all just different field types, different ways of manipulating and pulling data in and meshing them around these core concepts of sites and other things. But you can do it any way you want in AssetOS, and that's that's been really important for us in the development of the product over the last sort of 12 or 18 months.
And I guess the key fundamental thing that we really focus on is doing it at scale and at volume. So this isn't about 5 issues and so forth. We're looking at how does a facility and asset manager handle thousands of requests, thousands of issues, work orders, and being able to do that in a way where they feel in control and confident in the actions that they need to take.
So let's pull that other slide back up for a second. Let's see if we can just mark this up now, in terms of what we were able to do. So if we start to pull these pills together, you'll see how AssetOS really actually starts to add value in between these systems. And so, maybe the red tables are tables that are sitting in a setting. But then the other, the gray tables are tables that you're pulling in or you're doing something with. They're all starting to tie together based on the concept of a site or an asset or whatever it is. But wherever you want to start as well in AssetOS, you can. So maybe you want to start with, investment oversight. So you've got a whole bunch of assets that you're investing or you're doing due diligence on and wanting to acquire. Start there. It doesn't matter. You can sort of start anywhere within the concept of an asset and build this out, but then it can flow through in the organization. So maybe that's then got to go to an ERP or a payment system for you to manage vendors or manage suppliers or something like that. That can all go in there, and that's where AssetOS is really optimized around is helping you operate your asset network most efficiently.
Yeah.
But not necessarily telling you how to do it.
And the other thing is we don't want to be the source of data. Assetti has some significant, very unique sets of data that we bring to the table, but you may have other sources of data that you want to ingest to be able to take better outcomes and so forth. So we're an open system. So whether you're importing a file, whether you're connecting and integrating to one of the systems, when we ingest, we also output as well. So we're not just ingesting all the data and keeping on Assetti and it just sits in Assetti. The whole point of Assetti is it's a logical system. It's a handshaking agreement between all of these sets of data. So we don't want it to be just residing in Assetti. We want it to sit in all of the systems so they all talk to each other and give you the best desired outcome.
I think on that, we and none of these other sort of solutions that focus on what they do can do it alone. And really what AssetOS is a unification of all of these different systems to enable you to move data in the way you want, move it where you want, do what you want with it. And I guess trigger, the insights that are important. Maybe for you, the fact that your plants haven't been watered in 5 days is super important. Whereas for someone else, the fact that, there's way too much rain on their roof, the landscape for some customers is a massive problem. For others, the fact that, their roof has too much rain on it in the gutters, different design ratios. These are all things that can be built in, to the condition logic in a setting. And, I think there's a lot of value to be added there.
So I guess with AssetOS, we've talked about it as a 3-phase approach. So version 1, we're talking about core templates and core tables. And the idea is we're creating the logic between these core functionalities, that being a task capability, having all the site information, asset information, all the issues being mapped and identified, and allowing that to turn into work orders, and then having also a mini vendor CRM system for us to be able to then allow you to be able to map all the issues to a work order and the work order to vendors, and all of that sits under an asset that you can then manage and operate.
Yeah, and I think the phased release of Assetti here is really focused on getting the product into the market in the most rapid way and for our customers too that are already using it in beta, and giving those really core concepts like sites, assets, components, issues that people already use in Assetti today, and fundamentally understand and get significant value from, and then starting to migrate that into the more work order and starting to get the resolution for these, and then that feeds into what phase 2 is, which is really around the ability to take the data that sits in there, customize it, customize the tables in any way you wish, add as many columns, transform it in the ways that you want, and also the template library. So a really significant sort of piece of feedback to us through the whole process with our customers as we've been developing AssetOS has been, this is great, but where do I actually start? Like, how do I get going with this? And that's really what the template library is about. And so, if you go onto the website, it's actually on there. We've started to fill that template library out.
It's 220 so far.
There's a lot in there. And the idea there is that, we'll keep using experts to build these templates that all connect and integrate in the correct way into the system. So you want to track screwdrivers on your site. You can use the mobile equipment template for that, and it will tee into the correct site, and you can see where it's moving around and where it was last tracked last time you checked it. Maybe, you want to check gutters on site, manually there's a checklist for that, or you want to check safety, safety locks or signs, WHS signs, or the
lockout tagouts,
anything like that. There are templates, all for these things that tie back into the site. And then when you look at it from the site context, you get that summary in the site card. So, the way that it builds out and it carries out, it knows that you've got a screwdriver template. It knows that you've got these other things that are pulling in. And across all of this, there's a lot of value that's then starting to be generated. And then that feeds into what sort of version 3 is really focused on delivering, which is the integration into your existing systems, being able to, push this data into, the really large enterprise asset management systems and CMMSs and work health safety systems and induction systems and everything like that, finance, wherever you need this data to go, and also bringing in a real-time aspect to the data. So being able to take sensor data in, or live feed data into the system, and really being able to have that current state of your asset network available in real time, no matter where it is. And that's this sort of phased approach for us in AssetOS is already sort of in the market. Version 1 we've got with a select number of customers. We are looking for a couple more.
Yeah, so if you're interested, put your hand up and I'll reach out and get you set up.
Yeah, and then version 2 will be a more general release, and that will be available to whoever in the market effectively wants it. And once we release V2, we'll be working with our key customers around what their needs for V3 are. So, what key integrations are desired, and also industry partners. As I said before, we can't do this alone. It's a really important aspect to it that building this ecosystem that AssetOS can help drive and drive a unification of the asset ecosystem. But we're not saying that, we've got the best way of doing it. We believe that our customers know the best way of doing it, but that we can help and facilitate them to do it the best way within their, system and framework. So, AssetOS, it's a super exciting time. We've had customers from, someone who's got 10,000 sites saying they want to, start rolling AssetOS out, through to one person, a person who's got one site. And, I think for each of them, they see value in different but similar ways. And that's really the exciting thing.
And the things that we're unlocking. So like right now, like you're able to do internal, externals, which we've had almost every customer tell us that they need to be able to map both of those issues and condition monitoring. But then things like being able to track tractors or machinery on a site, or being able to do carbon footprint analysis or reporting, and looking at electricity usage per site. And it's endless. Like, we're facilitating absorption and logic of the data. So if the data exists, we'll be able to ingest it and then output it.
And a key part here also that we're looking for is, as we sort of work through versions, 1, 2, 3 and beyond, are the industry partners to work with us.
Yeah.
We can't do this alone. And in fact, AssetOS will be a really poor solution if we try to do it ourselves, because a key aspect of an operating system is that, it's orchestrating and delivering things in certain ways and being able to drive X, Y, or Z. And we can't do that without the industry partners. And so, for industry partners out there, we're super keen to, chat with you, no matter how niche your offering is. Maybe it's ESG, which is massive at the moment, and it's tied to assets perfect. Maybe it's safety tied to assets perfect. In reality, most of the solutions that exist for the built environment are tied to this site asset, component framework, and can really be used in AssetOS to drive value for the end customer.
Yeah.
And so, reach out to us if you're an industry partner as well. Really looking forward to getting going.
Let me look up. Some people have sent me some private messages.
Okay, what have we got going here?
Okay, so I mean, we've answered this already, but like, what if the system that they're integrating to isn't open? So like, there's no, let's say the system's not playing nice, the system they're on, ERP system or so forth. How can we ingest that data?
So, if the system won't deliver the data to us and we can't serve into it, that's a suboptimal outcome. However, what we can do is we can bring the data in as a table, export it as a CSV, put it into the system.
Webhooks.
Put it in that way. AssetOS will transform it. And then you can either, create a format that you want to put back out in a CSV, or as Nima said, with the webhooks, you can set a custom webhook sort of payload, send it back out, and it can land somewhere and trigger that in. So you don't have to have a tight integration in SETI to actually work into your third-party system. You can use it, in a super flexible way. And I think those sort of different tiers of data in and out and actions are really important.
Okay, there's another one. This one, yes, and that's a good question. So what kind of insights or reporting can AssetOS do?
Or anything that's important to you, really. I think the key thing around reporting is, often across sites, across networks. So the sort of fields and features in AssetOS that are relevant are the roll up, field, being able to roll data up and run calculations, formulas, analyses on the data that's there, what's not there, trends over time. That's the sort of reporting. But also at a site level, you can build the custom reports that you want, whether that's in a table or otherwise, to put that out in the way that makes sense for you, pulls that data together, the format that you want, showing the information you want, the fields, hiding fields, calculation fields. It can go anywhere from the most granular detail to the most sort of high level, depending on what the needs are.
Our Sitecard kind of capabilities that basically all the data that's there, you can basically tell us what information you want reported against that site or against a budget or against the CapEx forecast or a life cycle model. So the data's there, you want to export it, a report on it, we can do it. So it's all about data. So it's just the ingestion and calculating of the data. So the next one, so one of the predictive stuff that AssetOS can do.
Yes, I think that's a really important aspect here as we start to pull data into AssetOS. It's that logic layer which leverages AI as well to say, okay, based on what we're seeing, and we've had big storms here in Sydney and Australia recently. It's okay, we're seeing that there's a big storm in 3 days, and we also know that the last 3 times there's been a big storm and you've had X amount of rainfall, you've had the same critical issue happen because your gutters are blocked. Maybe go and schedule a task, work order to clear the gutters. These sort of concepts that make operating assets better over time, or maybe, it's through the due diligence process and you're looking at an asset and you forecast, $1 million to replace the roof. But every time you forecast $1 million to replace the roof, it's turned out to be $3 million, in the last 10 buildings. And so as you start to build out that DD report, the system will start to serve in these insights, saying, okay, well, why are you forecasting that based off the trend that's being seen? And then live data as well.
There's a really small use case, but it happens a lot. So speaking to all of these asset managers and facility managers, one of the things they told us was, right now, roughly 30% of their time on a daily basis, they're looking up generating requirements for a repair or inspection. So one of the cool things that we're able to do is we know the issue and the amount of issues that are against an asset. So we can actually auto-compile work orders based on the issues that you want resolved. And we also, based on all the data we already have that's available to us in the SETI, we can tell you what the potential replacement cost would be. If it's external, even internal, we've now started to do pricing sheets for every item known to man. So we're able to give you estimates against all of those work orders and streamline that process for you, so you save up that 30% of your day not chasing information and screenshots to send to vendors to get an estimate and get them scheduled out.
So AssetOS, there we go. It's starting to get out in the market. Still very, very early days with it. And I just want to say thank you to the customers who've been incredible so far, and the amount of support that we've received and interest in that process has been amazing. And yeah, really just looking forward to getting more and more into the use cases with customers. Get in touch, your customer, supplier, or an industry partner. Get in touch. We'd just love to have a chat and work through what the build out of our ecosystem looks like. And the more partners we have in that process, whether they're customers or industry peers, it's just going to end up in a better outcome for everybody. So thanks for joining us.
Guys. Thanks for joining. And if I haven't answered any other questions that have come up, I'll reach out and have a chat. Awesome. Thanks guys.